Guys, it's August and I just read my first 5-star read of the year. Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. 5 stars. Seriously so good. I recommend this book. She's a thick little girl, like 550 pages, but it is so worth it, and I actually wish there were like 500 more pages. That's how obsessed I am with Knox and Naomi. But all the tropes, grumpy sunshine, small town romance, evil twin, single parent guardian, so good. The spice in this book is next level, but done like super well. Loved it. And yeah, it was so good. This is like 5 stars. I'm so addicted. I don't know if I'll be able to pick up another book for a long time. Book hangover is seriously real, but go read this book right now.
This is one of the spiciest books I've ever read. Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Hold on, I need to take a sip of water before I continue this. So before I read this, the spiciest book I ever read was It Happened One Summer by Tessa Bailey. And I think this one is comparable. It's about a runaway bride, Naomi, who goes to a small town to try to help her twin sister. She ends up looking after her niece, starting this whole life, and meeting this hunk of a man, Knox. I'm usually allergic to books this size, but I breezed through this baby. A lot of themes about being afraid to fall in love and grieving, and just a lot of sexual relations. Let me know what you thought in the comments.
The next book was Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I have a whole video on my page about this book, but I absolutely loved it. It was 5 stars for me. It did get a lot of hype. Some people didn't love it, but for me, if you like Colleen Hoover, but like even to the next level, and then even some Tessa Bailey, it kind of gave me It Happened One Summer vibes, but a little bit better. A little bit more depth to the story. Definitely grumpy sunshine, small town romance, and my favorite part in this book were the supporting characters like Waylay and Steph and the parents, Liza J. Those characters really made the story for me. So if you have been debating picking this up and you're worried, I would just read it. I think it's worth the read either way, whether you like it or not. I loved it. I thought it lived up the hype for me.
Things We Never Got Over. Yes, I'd heard so many good things about this book and it did not disappoint. And you know what? There's an 11-year-old niece in the book, and I don't typically like kids in books, but I actually think she was so well written that she improved the whole story, and I never thought I would say that. The protagonist is fab, the love interest is like tall, he's a barber, got a great beard, great hair. That unlocked something I did not know I was into. It was a little long, I think it's 557 pages, but it never became tedious. My only wish was that it was a little bit shorter, however, I can't complain. The ending was super satisfying, so it was all worth it.
Convincing you to read these 5 books by hooking you with the first line. First up is Things We Never Got Over. I wasn't sure what to expect when I walked into Cafe Rev, but it sure as hell wasn't a picture of myself behind the register under the cheery headline, "Do Not Serve."
Okay, hey guys, I wanted to come on here and talk about Things We Never Got Over because I finished this book a few weeks ago and I loved it, and I kind of wanted to tell you guys my thoughts, kind of review. So I ended up rating this book 5 stars, and honestly, if you want a book that you're going to get into right away, like maybe if you're in a slump, this is the book for you. From the first chapter, I was hooked and I needed to know what was going to happen next. So I definitely recommend this if you kind of need like a grand first chapter to get you into a book. Basically, in this book, Naomi goes to the small town her sister lives in because her sister says she is in trouble and she needs her help. Once she arrives, she stops at a coffee shop. Everybody in there is like trying to kick her out and she doesn't know why until she realizes it's because they think that she's her twin sister, Tina. Finally, she convinces them that she's not Tina. She is Naomi. She's a different person, a twin. And they start to like her a bit, and there's this guy named Knox in there who's a total grumpy jerk, and she hates him. Once she leaves the coffee shop, she realizes that her car has been stolen, and she's like, where's my car? So Knox drives her to the motel she's staying at, only for her to realize that her room has been ransacked, and there's a little girl sitting on her bed, and she has no idea who she is. Only to find out that this little girl is actually her niece, and her sister had ransacked her room and taken whatever she could, all of her money and her car, and left her niece with her. So now Naomi is tasked with looking after her niece, kind of being like a single parent because she's not sure what to do. She doesn't want her to just end up in foster care, and she learns that like she actually like loves her niece. And then there's Knox, who's like grumpy Nobody really can, like, get in with him. Like, he's closed off. So even though Knox is grumpy, he wants to help her because her life just, like, imploded in front of him. So he offers to give her help. And honestly, you guys should read this book if this sounded interesting to you. From the first chapter, I was locked in, and throughout the book, I loved it more and more because I loved each character so much. I loved the side characters. I really related to Naomi as an older sister. I felt like she was very similar to me, but she did do some annoying things, I will say that. I loved all the side characters. I loved the dogs, which they have a big part in this book too. So if you're looking for like a slow burn, really cute, small town, grumpy sunshine romance, I definitely recommend this. I love it. I love it. It's like a great found family book, and honestly, it's long, but you get through it so quickly because you're so interested in it. This is actually the first book that I've ever tabbed, and I gave up partway through because I lost my tabs. I found them now, but I lost them at the time. I did dog ear it. Shh. No hate. This is also going to be a companion novel series, and it definitely sets the stage for the other couples, so I highly recommend this. Also, it has an extended epilogue.
Then ending February so strong, I read the Knock 'Em Out series, but it's still unfinished. Lucian and Sloane's book comes out this year, and I cannot fucking wait. But Things We Never Got Over, Naomi and Knox, textbook Grumpy Meets Sunshine, small town romance with single parent vibes, and it's so cute. Like, once you start it, I read it in a day. You cannot put it down. And honestly, Waylay, I thought she lended super well to the story. I shed a tear at one of her soccer matches. I'm not spoiling anything, but it was so cute.
I'm out here on the come up. I beat the pussy drummer. I roll up, no more drama.
You have a beautiful soul. Oh gosh, look at the time. I've got to get home and sleep with your brother.
She give me what
I have an all-time new favorite book. I just finished Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. It was a 10 out of 10. I know it's a 5 out of 5, but it was a 10 out of 10. I seriously could read the whole thing again and love it even more. I just love the whole story. I love all of the characters. I'm like so invested in them. Apparently, she just came out with the second book and a third book is on the way. What? I'm reading it immediately. Okay, not immediately because I already started a different book before I knew that there was a second book out. So I'm starting The Risk, which is book 1 out of 5 of the Mind Bleep series. Trying to keep it PG around here. If you read those, let me know. I started reading them because Lindsay, or Scrub Hacks, was reading them and she was flying through them and I was like, girl, how are you reading these books so fast? But they're super short, which I love me a short and sweet book. So I'm 6 out of 24 books of my reading goal already. I'm really proud of myself. This is a lot. I'm flying through these things. Plus, all of these are on Kindle Unlimited, which if you don't know, now I'm a Kindle girly. I don't know who I am, but it's super nice. I'm reading so many books for free. I mean, it's not for free, but feels like it's for free, you know? As per usual, let me know what your thoughts are on these
Book
books.
review time. I'm going to be reviewing Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I was not sure what I was going to think about this one because I've heard so many mixed reviews. I've heard it's great. I've heard it's horrible. This book is about Naomi, who ends up moving to a small town called Knock 'Em Out for her twin sister. When she gets there, she ends up meeting a guy named Knox. Knox is like a rough around the edges kind of guy. He's kind of a jerk. They don't vibe. On top of meeting this man, she ends up finding out that her twin sister has a daughter, which means she has a niece that she knew nothing about. Naomi is going through a ton of different changes. She just went through something big in her life. She's left in this town with no car, no job, no plan, and now she has this niece that she knew nothing about that she has to take care of. So Knox really wants to help her. Even though they are polar opposites, he feels this pull to help her out. I will say that I ended up really enjoying this book. I ended up giving it 4 stars. The reason why I did not give this 5 stars is because this book is entirely too long. It's almost 600 pages and I feel like this book easily could have been like 350. I really enjoyed all of the kind of witty banter in this book. It wasn't like too cheesy. I was kind of scared that it was going to be a little too cheesy for me because I'm really picky when it comes to comedy in books, like rom-coms, and I was actually pleasantly surprised by how funny I found this book. Also, lots of spicy scenes. Like, there are some steamy scenes in this book, so if you don't like spice, don't even bother with this one. I also really loved all of the characters. I loved Knox. I feel like, I don't know if that's an unpopular opinion, but Knox is the kind of character, like, kind of an asshole. He's rough around the edges. He says some really crass things, but I loved him. Like, I loved him. If you were looking for more of like a lighthearted romance with a little bit of humor and some spice, this is a good one to check out.
Today I want to review Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. This is actually my first ever Lucy Score book, and I have obviously been hearing about this for months and months and months and months, and I bought it and it's been sitting on my shelf and I finally decided to pick it up. I did give it like a 4.25, but I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I was like a little underwhelmed by the story. Naomi is supposed to be in her mid-30s, and Knox is supposed to be in his early 40s, and these two characters read like they were in their early 20s, I swear to God. But the story basically follows Naomi, who is a runaway bride. She has just left her fiance at the altar. She gets a phone call from her twin sister, who's kind of a complete piece of shit. Not kind of, she's a complete piece of shit. She asks Naomi to come to the town that she's living in Virginia, that she needs help and she needs money. So Naomi runs to her rescue, basically just to be duped by her sister. Her car is stolen, all the money that she's brought is stolen, her laptop. Basically, Naomi's twin just like wipes her out, and everybody in the town hates Tina. And everybody thinks that Naomi at first is her, so they kind of treat Naomi like shit until they realize that she is not her sister. The worst thing, though, that her sister does is her sister leaves behind her 11-year-old daughter to basically be taken care of by Naomi, who didn't even know that her niece existed. And Knox knows that this girl's life is basically falling apart. He knows that her sister just robbed her blind. He knows that she was just left with the responsibility of a child. And he is literally so fucking mean to her for no reason whatsoever, except for the fact that he finds her attractive and he's mad at himself for it. Like, she gets a job at a bar, happens to be a bar that he owns. He walks in, sees her on her first shift waitressing, so that she can support her niece. And he tries to fire her on the spot, like, for no reason whatsoever. Honestly, like, probably maybe gonna get shit for this. I felt that Knox's only redeeming quality was the way that he treated Wei, which is Naomi's niece. I loved how he treated her. I love the relationship that they had. And he did have his shining moments with Naomi, but this man is 43 and, like I said, acted like he was maybe in his early 20s. And Naomi she was a smart girl, but she made dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision. Girl, get your head out of your ass. So while I really did like it, like I said, I gave it like a 4.25. If you're thinking about reading it, I would recommend it. I had a good time while reading it. I was just expecting like a freaking 10 out of 5 star. So I think I was like a little bit disappointed, and these aren't characters that I'm going to be thinking about. I am really excited for the next book though, because I love Nash.
We got to talk about this book. We have to talk about this masterpiece. Who was gonna tell me this was out here the whole time? This is not only my favorite read of September, it's not only my favorite read of the year, this might be one of my top favorite books of all time. Okay? Small town vibes, grumpy ex-sunshine trope, single guardian trope. I know people don't like that trope. I haven't read another book like that, so I don't really care, but it's in there. There's so many different tropes. The small town vibes in this book are phenomenal. I'm a sucker for like small towns that like function as like one big family. I loved all the side characters, the dogs who play like a really good big part in this book too. Like, this book is chef's kiss. Knox, I love a character who I don't start out liking and then end up falling in love with. I did not like Knox for the first like half-ish of the book, but then I started to appreciate him. He's not just grumpy, he's also just an asshole. And like I said in my previous video about this book, I love just someone who's just an asshole, but like really, really sweet. And he's even kind of an ass to Naomi, but like, I like it. This book also had so many, like, themes and messages that are just very, like, I hold true to my heart and, like, that I just connected very well with. Naomi's a people pleaser. I've never been a people pleaser, like, never. So, like, I don't relate to that, but I see where other people could. I related to Knox and him being afraid to love people because every time he saw someone love someone and, like, they died, like, he just saw them fall apart and he was just terrified of that. And I can relate to that because even in my own life, I'm, like, terrified of, like, the people that I care about, like, something happening to them. So this book was so good. It was so good. If you haven't read this book, if it's in your TBR, if you're just thinking about, like, reading it, you need to. It's a good book. It's, honestly, everyone's like, oh, it's long. I finished this in, like, 2 days, and if I didn't have to work, I would have finished it in a day. Like, this book doesn't even feel long because you want to know. Like, from page 1, I was hooked. Like, I just wanted to know more. The way she started it was just phenomenal. Lucy, I can't wait for the second one, babe, because this was so good. This was such a good like, I felt the need to organize my tabs. It was so good. Like, this is, just read the book. Do yourself a favor and read this book. Okay, I'm coming. My dog is calling me now. But read the book. I promise you. You won't regret it.
The next book I read it in a day, and it is a lengthy one. It is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I think it's 565 pages, and when I tell you I could not put it down, I stayed up till I think like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning trying to finish this thing. Loved it so much. I just loved it.
There's one thing about me, it's that I'm gonna be influenced. If there's another thing about me, I'm not gonna read a single fucking review before I read a book. But when I tell you Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score is one of my fucking favorite books I've ever fucking read, you're gonna have to believe me. I know, I say it a lot on my Instagram. Oh, this is one of my favorite books I've ever read. No, I don't think you get it. I have nixed 2 of my top 3 favorite books for 2 recent books that I've read. So let me tell you, my top 3 favorite books. Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. Next up, I'm gonna bring up Colleen Hoover. So if you hate Colleen Hoover, you're gonna have to bear with me. This book touched my heart. It might not have touched yours, and that's fine. Ugly Love, Colleen Hoover. 2nd favorite book of all time. 3rd favorite book of all time, Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Now, I had to be sold on 2 things, and it was their love story and Knox, because I really wasn't a fan of Knox until this part. Here's the situation. Your daughter blew into town trying to help her no-good sister. No offense, none taken. I took one look at Naomi and fell hard and fast. Now, Taylor, why would that sell you? He could just be saying that. No, he wouldn't. Because if you read the book, Knox wouldn't just say that. He wouldn't lie. He doesn't bullshit. And he fucking said that to her parents, to this woman's parents, okay? Next line. In all their time together, I never once saw Warner bring her a cup of coffee. Never once saw him do anything that benefited her unless it benefited him too. So thank you for that. Thank you for seeing my girl and wanting to be there for her. Done. Signed, sealed, delivered. I was like fucking sold at that point. I had 2 issues with the book. The first one is their age. I seriously, until I found out the age of these characters, I thought they were like 30s, like early 30s. That seemed like the max amount of an age that this could have possibly been. But I found out it was like late 30s, early 40s, and this seemed like a lot of drama for that point that I wouldn't want in my life at that time. Anyways, second, I read the reviews after I read the book, and I saw 1 2-star review that said, oh, another quirky girl who loves coffee and is cranky without her coffee, and another quirky girl who needs to be taken care of and saved by Prince Charming. Did you read the book? Because it literally is about the fact that Naomi has never, ever, ever once cared more about herself than anybody else. Takes care of everybody else around her except for herself. Which I've connected to very, very well. I literally wrote in the front of the book, I can't believe how much like Naomi I am. Annoyed, trying her best, and an affinity to men who can't communicate. That's what the literal book is about. And her coffee addiction? Okay. She just took on an 11-year-old. She's probably fucking tired. Anyways, that was my opinion. I loved this book. Go read this book.
Hey Book Talk, I'm here with a spoiler-free review on Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I saw this all over TikTok. Everybody was giving it a 5-star read, so of course I had to check it out myself. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars and a 2 out of 5 for spice. It was very cute, very much rom-com, very what you would see in a movie. It made me laugh, which I love when romance books can make me laugh. I was entertained throughout. The reason why I didn't give it a 5 is Knox just wasn't doing it for me. I needed way more groveling from him. But I gave the book a 4 because I like Naomi, but I loved Waylay. That little girl has my heart. If you are interested in taking a read, it's Grumpy Sunshine, it's rom-com-y, then go ahead and take a read. And if you've read it already, let me know your thoughts.
Okay, book besties, I have to eat some crow. Like 2 to 3 weeks ago, I rated Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score a 4-star read. As far as my scale goes, 3 is like an average read. It was good, I enjoyed it, moved on. 4 is like, this was really good, I recommend it. 5 is, this book was amazing and I'm gonna be different for having read it. I gave Things We Never Got Over a 4-star. Solid read, recommend it, loved it. It's been like weeks. I can't stop thinking about Naomi and Knox. I was in a little diner in Alabama the other day, and the whole time I was looking around thinking about Naomi. It's constantly in my head. I miss them. I love them. I want more of them. I cannot wait for the sequel to come out, even though it's like different characters. And so I have to rewind and actually give this a 5-star read. I corrected it on Goodreads already. I'm going to correct my review on a couple other websites. 5-star read. I haven't had a ton of those this year, so I highly recommend you pick this up when you have a chance. It's a good comfort read.
Yeah, no, I don't really ever give books 5 stars. I mean, after all, that's perfection, and I like to think of myself as a very fair but honest reviewer, so maybe 4 stars, but even that is pushing it. And you get 5 stars, and you get 5 stars, and you get 5 stars, and not you, and you get 5 stars!
Okay, a little review on Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I really enjoyed this book. I'm going to share my quick thoughts, what I liked, and then what I didn't absolutely love. We have Naomi and we have Knox. Knox is Grumpy Sunshine. We've got an enemies to lovers kind of in a very small town, but it was a small town that was charming. It wasn't in a weird, like, this, like, ick kind of way. It was a fun small town vibe. Kind of reminded me of, like, Virgin River small town, but, like, a lot funnier. And it was a really fun read. I think Naomi and Knox have really good chemistry. I would have loved to see a little bit more breaking from Knox earlier, which leads me into, I would have been displeased with this book if it ended just as it ended without the epilogue. And may I just add, there is a bonus epilogue. So there's 2 epilogues. And I mean, when I got to those epilogues, that's what changed it all. Those epilogues, you got to see something in those 2 epilogues that you didn't get to see the entire book. And it was so freaking beautiful. Like that bonus epilogue. Wow. I loved it. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I loved the banter in this. I loved how all different characters just really vibed and had really good chemistry with one another. And it was funny. Like, there were some parts that were really funny. I just wish Knox would have, for me, been a little softer towards the end, and opened up a little bit more. And with the plot that goes in this book, it is a bit on the cheesier side, and the ending is kind of, I was like, okay, if it ends like this, I'm gonna be low-key very upset. So I'm happy for me. That's what I'm saying here with this is I just wish Knox was a little more broken down and open towards the end, and the ending and the plot to me was a little bit cheesy with just the way that it kind of resolved. But I will say I'm happy that it wasn't like a quick turnaround. I feel like every plot and situation in this book had ran a good course of time and didn't feel rushed. And like I said, the epilogues are what completely stole us from me. So I'm going to give it like a 4 to 4.5. So good, and such good writing that like just had me so engaged in these characters.
This book is so freaking good. I had a hard time picking it up because she's a big one. However, when I started reading this, I literally could not get enough. The drama, the spiciness, the love, the relationship. Oh my God. It is 5 out of 5 stars. If you're looking for a new good read, highly.
Then we've got Things We Never Got Over. I loved this book. Could not put it down. I don't know how I finished it in one night. It's so thick. Okay, I just finished Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. I was so nervous to read this book because I have seen so many mixed reviews on here. It's like either people love it or they hate it. There's no in between. But it was on Kindle Unlimited. And I love the cover. The cover just caught my eye immediately. It's beautiful. I totally judge a book by its cover. I 100% judge a book by its cover. If it's a pretty cover, I'm probably going to read it. I loved this book. I absolutely loved this book. Hands down 5 stars. It is small town romance, grumpy sunshine, drama, suspense, secrets. I loved this book. Big family dynamic, great best friends, great sense of community. I just loved everything about this book. Like when I finished this book, I was sitting there like, what don't people like about it? I'm truly, truly baffled as to why people don't like this book. I spent the whole book waiting for the part where I was going to start hating it because I've seen so many reviews on here, and I don't know why. I don't know why people don't like this book. It is fantastic. Fantastic. This girl basically spends her entire life cleaning up the mess that her twin sister has made. Her twin sister's a horrible human. And then her sister has always like cleaned up her messes and tried to help her out. Well, this one time she goes to help her out, she really ends up in a mess. And she ends up in this small community, and they all kind of band together and help each other out. And here enters the grumpy sunshine, Knox. And he is beautiful and he is grumpy, but he has a reason that he's so grumpy, and he's just beautiful and perfect. All the men in this book are beautiful and perfect. This is the first one in her new series, Knock 'Em Out, which is the name of the town, Knock 'Em Out, Virginia. And I love it. Like, I have already Googled, okay, when is the next book coming out? But I can't find it anywhere. I need the second book. I hope it's about Nash or Lucian. Oh my gosh, the men in this book are beautiful. I loved this book, hands down, 5 stars, fun, easy, lighthearted read. If you're just wanting something just to suck you in and it's just perfect. I loved this book.